Hello. Today we're going to take a satirical look and provide commentary over the JNS-TV reporting. Now, I'm sure you'll be able to figure out what JNS stands for as we make our way through the video. Let's begin.
Strikes threatening nearly global oil shipments. And this happening as American forces destroy Iranian mines and naval vessels to reopen it. At the same
Great AI-generated images there. Absolutely beautiful.
time, U.S. warplanes hit 90 military targets on Iran's Kart Island, the heart of its oil exports. Josh Haston here alongside Alex Trayman. Alex, we are entering the
Do you guys get it? Do you get the acronym? All right.
third week of the war, the U.S., Israel, and Iran. Let's jump right out to a video of President Donald Trump saying that essentially
Let's
we've
do it.
won.
We've won.
Essentially.
Let me say, we've won. You know, you never
Let me tell you.
like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over. The International
GG's, dude. Absolutely.
Energy
Okay.
Agency agreed to coordinate the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from various national petroleum reserves around the world.
Woo!
Which will-
Let me tell you, nothing gets me more excited than hearing about how many barrels of oil the country's getting. That is, like, she's all just like, oh, fuel for the Tahoe. You know, we're going on vacation this year. Sparkly hat. She's hyped. This one's extremely hyped about the barrels of oil reserves.
Substantially reduce the oil prices as we end this threat to America and this threat to the world. We don't want to leave early, do we?
Look at this posture of the giving savior. Whoa, what is that? His finger's missing. He's got some sort of red thing in his hand there, which is making it look like his finger is gone, blending in with the back of her shirt. Anyways, I digress. Look at this Jesus-like posture. Fishes and loaves to the masses. You'll also notice the ties have changed. No more blue-red. We're talking mixed ties. This one is beetle shell, you know, purple, blue. Very futuristic.
We got to finish the job, right? After
Finish the fight. Halo 3. Let's go. Master Chief.
midnight hammer, and then we left. We figured that'll be the end of them for a
Got the
while.
fuck out.
But they
Whatever.
started again.
They started again, dude. We thought it was all Gucci, and then they're just like, nah, bro.
That's why we got to finish it, right?
Gotta finish the fight. Halo 3, dude. Halo 3 introduced the power-up pickups. You know, you had the shield and the boost and everything. You know, there's a lot of contention. Most people say that's where it started to die. I thought, multiplayer-wise, Halo 3 was perfection.
We don't want to go back every 2 years.
Alex, I think that's really important. The president saying we're going to go full force. We can't keep going back. We can't go back every 2 years.
I think that's right. And while the
What does that mean? Nobody really knows. Going back every 2 years. Who cares? Who cares? You know, anyways.
president said, we don't want to say it too early, I think it is really important to understand what the president of the United States is saying, what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is saying, what the Prime Minister of Israel, what the Defense Minister of Israel is saying, which is that
What are they saying?
Iran is sustaining unbelievable blows. And from the first minute, I think President Trump was right when he said the first thing, that first strike, that Saturday morning, 16 days ago, the state of Israel took out Ali Khamenei. They took
a lot of hemming and hawing with these guys. A lot of uhs, a lot of ums. It's just like, come on, dude, get to your point. Look at his cute little hair curl, by the way. Isn't that gorgeous?
out the top of the entire command structure.
You know what I don't like about this report is that one side of his collar is outside of his sweatshirt. The other collar side still tucked.
Of the Iranian regime, of this Islamic Republic. And yes, Iran is sending ballistic missiles towards Israel and towards targets all over the rest of the Middle East. But, they are just spraying missiles. And whatever they hit, they hit.
Spray and pray. Spray and pray, baby. We're playing Counter-Strike Source up in this beast.
They do some damage. Iran has sustained well over 1,000 direct hits on strategic targets. And if anybody thinks that Iran is going to come out as the victor of this war, they are just they're just slopping up the propaganda, Josh.
Alex, I want to go right to this clip of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Just an unbelievable clip. Let's check it out.
Sloppers.
Looking up,
Looking
the
up?
IRGC and Iranian regime sees only
Let's check it out.
looking up.
Looking up?
Secretary of War
Hold
Pete
on.
Hegseth. Just an
Let me
unbelievable
see
clip.
if I
Let's check
can
it out.
pause that.
Looking up,
Alhamdulillah. Look at him go. You know what I love? I want to go on record, at least. I've noticed. You know, this is going to become also a outfit analysis channel / video, because I find a lot of these guys in the government here, and gals, excuse me, they got just, their fashion is just wild. Because, like, you know, with actors and the president and stuff, everyone's just picking their outfit. Like, oh, sir, you're going to wear this suit today. You're going to wear this tie. Here you go. You know, someone's picking all that. These people on the lower levels, like Congress, Senate, they're choosing their own outfits. And let me tell you, it gets pretty wild. Usually his is a lot tighter than this. Like, what I hate about an overly tight suit is the lapels. When it's too tight, they get this sort of crease in the middle. Like a 90-degree angle almost of a bend in the lapel. He's got a very loose suit on today. However, you can see a little bit of detachment from the shoulder to the shoulder pad, which kind of makes it look like he's wearing a vest or he's a box or something. But also, let me just go on record by saying the American flag as a pocket square, wild move, wild move. I think he does it because, you know, a war general has their medals and such all up on there. He doesn't, I don't know, flex those. He might have them. I don't know. I haven't looked that deep into the guy, okay? But it's almost as if he's trying to recreate those sort of badges with his American flag pocket square, which I find very interesting. A forward fashion move and pretty innovative. And that's what you can expect from this government, innovation. So let's see what he's got to say.
the IRGC and Iranian regime.
See, okay, already, like I'm saying, this pinch right here, oof. Now you'll look at me, I'm no fashion expert. I got my $3 blue shirt on, but you know what I mean, that I don't have a tailor. That's all I'm going to say. This guy does. Period.
Sees only two things on the side of aircraft: the Stars and Stripes and the Star of David. The evil
Let that sink in. Moving on.
regime's worst nightmare.
There you have it, Alex. Why don't you talk about that?
That was
Well,
it. All right.
I think what you are
That's it.
seeing here is that Israel's stock is really rising.
it.
Okay, that there are two superpowers in the world that are willing to fight against terror threats, the entire world,
Okay.
and those are the United States of America and the State of Israel. These two countries are working side by side. They are, flying together. They are hitting targets.
Why do they call it the State of Israel? Is it not a country? Do they not have country status? I mean, I'm uninformed. I'm just here to assess the fashion. But like, I've heard it referred to as a country many times. Two countries, but now it's a state. I don't understand. State, country. Is there even a difference? In America, at least, that I'm led to believe there is. Is each state a tiny country? I would say almost yes. In America, yeah. Look at Europe and America. There's all these little states inside of a larger government. People don't identify with the larger government. They identify with their local state, which is a country of its own. I mean, if you've ever gone from California to New York, those are two different countries. Not even state, where do we draw the distinction, I guess, between state and country?
Strategically, each according to their strength, and I think the results demonstrate. And we've actually seen maybe some U.S. planes gone down. We haven't seen any Israeli planes go down. Okay, Israel is
Oh, he's flexing. Okay, easy, bud. Got it.
the strongest. I don't want to say the strongest because in terms of quantity and the equipment, the
You'll notice with these guys when they talk about this, they just cannot stop smirking. Like, look at that. He's just so glib about the whole thing. It's the utter domination.
United States is definitely dramatically stronger than the state of Israel. It's not even close. But when it comes to the precision, the perfection, the state of Israel just is in a league of their own in terms of their
Wow, he's saying they're number one in the entire world. Look at that. The pride, the prideful smirk. Oof. You know, that brings me to a Bible story. Why were the Israelites denied from the promised land? Because in that final moment of getting his people there, Moses decides, is it? Whatever. I'm not even gonna, And at any rate, he turns his staff, God commands him to turn his staff into the snake again to keep the people motivated. But he goes above and beyond and starts claiming that he's the chosen one and all this. Very prideful, very prideful. And because of this, he is denied access to the promised land. His whole goal, 40 years in the desert, wandering and wandering through the generations to get into this place, and then denied because of the pridefulness of saying, I am equal to God, or better.
Their pilots, and the stock is rising. When these two powers work together, there's no way that a rogue terror regime like the Islamic Republic of Iran, even with their terror axis of Hezbollah, the Houthis, Khata'ib, Hezbollah, Hamas, whoever wants to get involved, they don't stand a chance against the United States and the state of Israel, and the whole world sees it.
Alex, the other day, Prime Minister Netanyahu held, I believe it was the first press conference since the beginning of the war. He talked about that unprecedented level of coordination between Israel and the U.S., spoke about the accomplishments. He said, we took out Khamenei, the nuclear infrastructure, the missile.
I just want to say, it looks better than on hair. I'll say that. Like with a bald head, that kind of hits, no? I don't know. Is it just me?
Arrays, launchers, targeting the headquarters of the terrorist regime there in Iran. And the Prime Minister said with certainty, this is no longer the same Iran. And he also said it's not the same Middle East and no longer the same Israel, which I thought was very fascinating.
The Prime Minister looked fantastic. This wasn't his first press remarks. He's given various remarks to the country at different times. This is the first time he took questions from reporters. And some of the questions from reporters were not even related to the war in Iran. They were related to the president calling for a pardon for Netanyahu and other questions of which the Prime Minister, he just went off on that. Talked about the President of the United States can say whatever he wants. He can do what's in his heart. But I thought that Netanyahu looked amazing, and what was incredible about it is that I typed in Netanyahu. I wanted to see that presser that he did. I wanted to see if there was an English language translation, which we could maybe get here for the show. I typed in Netanyahu and Iran, and countless results come up saying that Netanyahu was dead.
Yeah.
Okay, just video after video saying that Netanyahu was dead. A week earlier, they had said that Netanyahu's brother Ido was dead. Guess what? Prime Minister Netanyahu is not dead.
Dude.
His brother Ido is not dead. Okay, the Prime Minister was fantastic, even addressing reporters' questions late last week. Who is dead? Ali Khamenei is dead. And there's a good chance that Mojtaba Khamenei, Ali Khamenei's son, is dead because we haven't seen him. He gave this statement to the press that was read by an anchor, basically saying, oh, I didn't even know that I was appointed supreme leader. I found out from my hospital bed. And the question is, why is Iran doing that? Because they want to show that this regime is still in place, even though the whole thing is crumbling, right before them. And you see here weakness and you see strength. You see weak Iran flailing, and you see
strength.
The United States and Israel working with a lot of confidence, but also with great methodology. You're also seeing how both countries are ramping up the military operations, not scaling down. They didn't come with everything that they had on the first day. Like Iran, for example, fired the most amount of ballistic missiles on day one. And now we're seeing that they're firing approximately 30 ballistic missiles a day. Now, I don't want to minimize what that means. I mean, that is a threat that needs to be nipped in the bud. Iran cannot have the power to fire even one ballistic missile a day. But when you talk about the threat, what Iran was supposedly able to possess and do to Israel, they're firing 30 a day right now. That is a tiny, tiny fraction of what the assessments were that they could have done, not just before this round, but before previous rounds. And we'd seen in the last 12-day war, I think they fired 500 ballistic missiles at Israel. But we had seen even before Operation Rising Lion and Midnight Hammer that they had fired almost 100 in a day previously, back in April 24 and October 24. So here they're firing just a few. The regime is crushed. The infrastructure is crushed. I mean, remember seeing Israel hit that oil infrastructure in Iran. Apocalyptic scenes, black smoke all over Iran. You had flaming fire going down the gutters of Iranian streets. It was unbelievable. I mean, what Israel's doing, they are picking apart this regime that has threatened the entire region. And it's really...
Flaming fire going down the streets. That is insane and wild and crazy, wild, and insane.
Incredible to watch.
That's also part of that press conference. I think this is just really exemplifies the spirit of the Israeli people and what we're all about. Netanyahu said that President Trump said to him in amazement, only in Israel are the rescue flights reversed. Everywhere in the world, people want to flee from war zones, and only in Israel, everyone wants to return. You had a correspondent here from
Oh.
Ma'ariv, which is not necessarily pro-Netanyahu.
The opposite.
The opposite, yeah, exactly. I was putting it mildly, admitting that I'm here. His name is Avi Benayahu, a correspondent saying, I don't really hand out praise to governments so readily, but I need to give praise and credit where it's deserved, specifically the Ministry of Transportation, which is organizing these rescue flights, bringing in thousands of people back to Israel into a war zone. I was stuck during the last operation, so I know what it's like to be on the other end, doing everything in my power to come back to Israel. It took me 15 days, but Israelis around the world still trying to get home who haven't already done so.
It's over 100,000 Israelis, but you would imagine that there would be a mass exodus, people trying to flee out of a country when the country comes under attack. And you see in Israel the exact opposite. And this is really the strength of the Israeli resilience, that people run to the fire. People want to be with their families during a war to protect them, to protect the country. And great job by Miri Regev and the government.
This is an interesting angle here, is this idea of, well, but aren't we saying that those people were in Iran, so why wouldn't they want to go back to Israel to escape the war and being blown up? Aren't they more or less going to the place with the best missile defense system? I don't know.
And I think Elal also deserves a lot of the credit here.
I don't know anything. I'm stupid.
As well as Arkia, who brought another airline that brought people on flights into Taba, into Egypt, and many people came across through Taba. Some flights went into Aqaba, into Jordan, and people came across. Not the safest of situations, but good job by the government of working to get all the Israelis that want to come home together. But another thing that the Prime Minister said, which I think is so important, he said that he's speaking to the President of the United States on a daily basis. He said they are talking about the operational considerations of the war, that they are making decisions together, right? And we had previously heard the President of the United States, when asked about when the war would end, said that he and Netanyahu would decide together when the war would end. He said the relationship has never been stronger. And he said that the two of them, they don't only discuss the present operational considerations. He said they talk about the future of the region and the future of the world, okay? That they are talking about creating the situation for future generations. This is just unbelievable leadership, really, between these two. I think the two strongest leaders in the world today, potentially, in President Trump. Obviously, he's the leader of the free world. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has been so criticized, so heavily criticized.
That's an interesting point. Who is the stronger leader? What is strength? What do we define strength as? The ability to destroy? I don't know. That's for the future to decide.
Over the last years, and certainly after.
Because here's a fun fact, everybody. Today's present is tomorrow's past.
October 7th, he seemed like he was broken after that attack. But to see how he has risen to the occasion to guide Israel through this war, first against Hamas, then against Hezbollah, then against the Houthis, then back against Gaza, then against Iran, then back in Gaza, and now again in Iran and again in Hezbollah. The way he's managed the situations, managing first President Biden, now working with President Trump. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's managed to do. And you've also seen the Israeli force posture evolve. And again, that has a lot to do with who you started fighting the war with. In the beginning, the war was fought with the Biden administration. They were working against Netanyahu. They were, threatening weapons. They were certainly not allowing all the weapons that were supposed to come. Israel had to figure out how to, work solely. But
I'm getting a little bored. So guess what? I'm gonna just go ahead and spool through. Maybe we'll get to another talking point. I don't know. Let's just skip ahead. Because I'm not gonna sit here for a whole hour. I don't think. That's just like, that might be a little crazy.
Seen the President of the United States saying, we will take out Iran's oil infrastructure. Now, in the beginning, and I mentioned a few minutes ago, when Israel bombed some of Iran's oil infrastructure, you saw reports, and we don't know how true those reports are, but we saw reports coming through that the United States was upset that Israel was hitting the oil infrastructure. Now we're seeing the President of the United States threatening to hit even more of the oil infrastructure.
Isn't that an interesting point? So the whole thing is to go in there and liberate the government. Why are you blowing up the economy? Because when these people take over from the alleged government and rise up, what resources do they have to rebuild their country? So not only now do they have to, the people are being called on to overthrow the government, take control, organize, and then rebuild the refinery to then export the oil back. That's a tall task for a bunch of rebels.
Infrastructure. And we just saw over the weekend that the United States hit the Karg Island, which is in the middle of the Straits. It is an island in which most of the oil that Iran produces and ships off. And they have on this relatively small island, about 25 kilometers from Iran's coast, you have an airport there. And this is where Iranian vessels load up oil and they take them out. So we've seen in the past, the Reagan administration bombed Karg Island during the Iran-Iraq war. And what's really interesting here is that you see different media reports and people challenging Pete Hegseth and others saying, you didn't realize that Iran was going to close the Straits of Hormuz. What do you mean they didn't know? Obviously, the one leverage that Iran has on the entire world, short of the nuclear weapon and the ballistic missiles, is the oil
which doesn't exist.
supply, the international oil supply
Allegedly, excuse me, allegedly.
that goes to the Straits. It's not the first time Iran has threatened to close the Straits of Hormuz. It's not the first time they have actually blocked the Straits of
And it won't be the last.
Hormuz. The United States obviously knew that this was
It
a
might be the
possibility. They
last.
obviously
It's
prepared
possible.
for such a scenario, and you see now the United States getting set. If these straits are not effectively opened, I think that you're going to see the President of the United States, the U.S. military, bombing hard all along the seacoast, the shore of the straits, potentially more bombings on Karg Island.
I'm a little confused at this whole thing of the Iranian Navy no longer exists. However, then how are they able to control water assets? What, I guess my question would be, how are they still, quote, shutting down the Strait of Hormuz without a navy?
President Trump said that they might bomb Karg Island again just for fun. That's a quote. So we'll see what happens. But
We're gonna blow up the refinery just for fun? What? Yeah, let's just... That's wild. Buy me a house then, dude. You know what I'm saying? Pop me off a couple $100,000 of that $10 million per ordinance.
certainly, this is something that the United
You know what's strange is he giggles about this and he's Look at how happy this guy is about this. He's just thrilled.
States is prepared for.
The idea of explosions and destruction just seems to comfort this man.
And this is part of the holding hostage of the international community that Iran has done for so many years, and something that needs to stop.
So in addition to those bombings, the U.S. and Israel also targeting the checkpoints belonging to this IRGC paramilitary militia group there in Iran. I believe it's pronounced the Basij.
The Basij, right.
Basij force checkpoints there. Let's talk about the significance of that.
This is really important because, on the one hand, Israel and the United States working to bomb against the nuclear facilities and also against the ballistic missile infrastructure of Iran. But ultimately, you see by the first strike, by taking out Khamenei on day one of this war, that what at least the state of Israel is saying out loud, and certainly what the United States is also working towards, is a regime change in Iran. Now, what prevents the regime change? Okay, the people of Iran, they want a regime change, and you saw millions of people protesting, and not just this year. Okay, we saw it in 2008, we've seen it at other times, but this year already, 32,000 protesters at least, with some estimates, and I've
Almost to 33.
even heard the president acknowledge that it might be as much as 100,000.
Wow.
But the minimum estimates is that at least 32,000 protesters have been gunned down in the streets when they come out to revolt against this regime. Who's shooting them? The Basij. The Basij is heavily armed. They are paramilitary that is created to prevent popular uprising in the country. They're shooting against unarmed protesters. So what Israel wants to see, and what you're hearing more and more, is talks about what will happen on the day after, and that the Iranian people have to rise up and take the regime back. What's there to prevent them is the Basij. And what we just see now for the first time, Israel doing, together with the United States, is using suicide drones that are actually clones of the Iranian drones, almost a very similar type drones, and using intelligence, those drones are attacking the checkpoints where Basij is setting up to prevent people from going en masse into the streets. And now we've even seen the Basij moving their checkpoints into tunnels. We've seen footage of this, or videos of them moving their checkpoints inside tunnels, because inside the tunnels will be harder for these drones to attack them. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying many times since this war began that there are surprises, that I think that these drone attacks on the Basij forces is one of those surprises. Let's see if there are more. But certainly what needs to happen is when Prime Minister Netanyahu talks about help being on the way, when the president said help is on the way, that is help to neutralize the Basij, that the Iranian people can actually rise up in the streets. And I'll tell you, even overnight, I've seen clips from Iran, and it's hard to verify like what is the actual dates of these clips, because they could have been from several weeks back when we saw the 32,000 people being gunned down in the streets, but clips of more and more people getting into the streets protesting against this regime.
It's interesting how they're encouraging a civil rebellion. You know, that's an interesting move.
In today, and there was missile alert, and not exactly
members have been killed in this operation so far, which is terrible. You know, we didn't want any. We didn't think that there would need to necessarily be any. The war is very, very difficult. And we've also seen in Israel approximately a dozen people killed from. He warned Iranians to stock up on supplies recently, telling them that to get ready for what's coming, to stay indoors while Israel and the United States are bombing, but letting them know that there will be a moment in which they will come out onto the streets. And he also said in this last message that he will arrive in Iran at some point. He says he wants to lead a transition.
Really?
He says that he is working with various operators to create a transition team that involves, I'm sure, some people that are in exile, but also some people that are inside the country. And we know that there's a block of Arab countries that really control the votes at the United Nations. And you would have suspected that they would all be
Well,
the way
let's
they're
get
speaking, the
this.
messaging,
Let's get this
and
UN
demonstrating
news. Let's see
significant
what
leadership.
that's
This week
about.
for firing ballistic missiles. But before you get too excited, they left the word Israel out of this statement. They condemned
Don't
Iran
get
for firing
excited.
ballistic missiles at the Gulf nations. Didn't say anything about Iran firing against the state of Israel. So let's not jump for joy. Nothing has really changed out of the UN. Well, I think something.
So the UN has condemned their enemy, but these guys are upset. They don't speak for Israel, as far as I'm concerned. They're upset that they weren't specifically mentioned as victims by the UN. Take a W when it's shown, guys. Like, gee, like, come on, dude. Like, yeah, it's a W, but it wasn't W enough.
Something has changed. I mean, something has changed dramatically, which is that you have these countries, the Arab League, controls, there's a block of Arab countries that, really control the votes at the United Nations. And you would have suspected that they would all be on Iran's side in this conflict. But Iran, for whatever reason of strategic decision making, I don't necessarily.
Well, that, sir, is an extremely racist assumption that because they're all Arab, quote, they must stick together. Like, what kind of thought pattern is that? That's a racist thought pattern. If they were all the same, guess what? They would only have one country. But they clearly have a lot of different morals, principles, and ideals. I mean, is a Catholic and a Lutheran the same? Of course not. That's the problem here. Is like, that was a racist take. Ethnicist. Saying, oh, I'm surprised they all just didn't vote together. Like, what, dude? Ouch. Does Europe all vote together? Do the Nordic countries all vote together? Does all of South America agree? Hell, don't even get me started on Africa's situation, the back and forth there. You'll never get those countries to agree. But they're all African, right? Sir? Yeah, that's an L take from left guy. Guy on the left. Well, I mean, both. This dude's got jeans. Let's talk about his outfit for a second. Can we just take a pause? The banker suit with the denim. I take offense to that.
Necessarily understand, has just been firing somewhat indiscriminately, some targeting of military facilities, and they hit a radar system on top of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And they've hit some military sites, but they've also hit some, like they hit a hotel. They just hit like part of the financial center in Dubai, I believe. They're just hitting all over the Arab world. They've struck at a dozen countries so far, and this Arab no longer will have the ability to threaten the region. Yeah, opportunities for.
Well, see, if someone attacks someone, it becomes not about race. It becomes about someone being an aggressor over another person. It's all power dynamics, dude. Maybe if you tucked in your collar on both sides, you could understand that.
For other countries in the region to, I don't know if the word is normalize relations, as we've seen United Arab Emirates. And
I'm just going to skip through, see what appears at the bottom. Okay, missiles, we got. Okay, oh, some footage finally. Let's watch some
I
footage.
would call it exceptional, at least in the recent conflict. 200 projectiles fired
Yeah,
at
have
northern
some
Israel
water,
to this
dude.
past Wednesday night by Hezbollah. A lot of these attacks seem to be coordinated. You have Hezbollah firing from the north, you have Iran firing from the east, hitting simultaneously within 3-4 minutes of each other. So certainly coordinated there. So a lot happening, and the northern Israel certainly bearing the brunt of this latest round, as they have in previous rounds, with a lot of those drones and rockets being fired at the residents in the north. Absolutely coordinated. At the same time, for all the missiles and rockets that they're firing at Israel, just a fraction of what we believed, or what the assessment was that Hezbollah could have done. The assessment before October 7th was that Hezbollah had 150,000 rockets and missiles pointed at Israel. The amount of damage they could have done would have been unbelievable. They could have overrun every missile defense system that Israel has in place, even with backing from the United States. But Israel did file them down significantly in this operation, which went in 2024. Obviously, at the time, they said that that operation filed Hezbollah down anywhere from 70 to 80%. Now, 70 to 80% is a lot.
Filed them down. All right, dude. Taking your word for it. Oh, what do we got here? A little footage. Let's see. Something blows up. Boom, pow. Air Force headquarters. Cool. That's been blown up. Okay. We're just gonna skip to see what's happening here. Oh, just a starter video to sort of dip our toe. Lebanon. Okay, see, and that's interesting, Lebanon, because I can't remember the exact details, but some ex-CIA guy or whatever, back in 2012 when things are a little more, look at this guy. Things are a little more free speechy around here. The CIA guy was talking about the Middle East plan, and he said, and the final two are Iran and then Lebanon is the final final piece. So we're close to those times. I mean, obviously, 2030 is going to be the end of this, because on the tens of every year a new agenda begins. Oh, not the anti-Semitic attacks. And with that, I would also like to say this is not an anti-Semitic video. This is not a race video at all. This is a human-oriented channel where we discuss human beings in their form as a human being, regardless of race, religion, color, etc., belief, you know. I judge the choices people do make, such as fashion and facial hair, hairstyles, and their beliefs. I mean, you know, endorsing blowing people up is a big move for anyone, even if you feel threatened. I mean, you know, I don't know, but I'm gonna end it on that. We're gonna stop there. Here's a cat. Interesting news, not really. Did anything happen? No. Yeah. What else is there to say? I definitely would like to do more fashion analysis. I thought that was a great segment, you know. And yeah, I'll make another video. You know, this is my first video like this, so we'll see how it goes. And well, I won't see how it goes. I'm gonna do it anyways because this channel's not driven by interaction. It's driven by my own creative desire. And I just want to do this, so I'm just going to keep doing it no matter how many people are here and whatever, who cares? My takes suck. I look stupid. There's a weird umbrella background. Like, what's going on back there? Let's take a look. What is that? What the hell? I don't know, dude. I guess I'll just have to stick around and figure it out. But at any rate, this has been Synergy. And this has been also an analysis of the JN... I don't even remember, News Network. Go check it out. It's interesting to get the perspective on the ground, so to speak, of a neighboring country of the place. Of course, I don't believe the news, propaganda, etc. I mean, what can you believe? Those videos could all be AI. I don't know. But that's why it's important not to shape your life around things you're not experiencing personally. Acknowledge they exist, sure, be aware, but to say like, oh, well, my life's about this now, it is a little crazy because it's not. And, you know, I struggle with this is in the information age, how do you digest everything but also live your own life in the traditional sense? Very difficult. Something I'm working on. Hopefully this will help put that into perspective for me and you. So that's all I've got to say. We'll see you on the next video. Who knows what I'll be doing? It could be anything. So you might as well just, you know, wait and see.